Hello, dear students. I welcome you all on behalf of Sri Jayendra Rangjon classes. Dear student, we are in continuation of the chapter that is organism and population. Okay, so we are studying organism and populations. Now, if we want to talk about this, here in this chapter, we are going to talk about the population attributes or group attributes, or we can say the population characteristics. So before studying the population characteristics, we have to understand what is population. So it is known that a population is a group of organisms of one species. Simply, it is defined as a population. So population can be defined as a group of organisms of one species occupying a defined geographical area. Share or compete for similar resources similar resources and potentially interbreed and usually isolated to some degree from other similar group. So population is a group of organisms of the same species if it is occupying a defined geographical area and they are sharing or competing for the similar resources and potentially they interbreed and they produce a fertile offspring and usually isolate to some degree from the other similar groups. Then it is known that population. Although term interbreeding implies sexual reproduction and a group of individuals resulting from even asexual reproduction is also considered as a population. It is not that the only sexually reproducing organism are a population. The asexually reproducing individual are also considered as a population for the purpose of ecological studies. So, following are the examples. We can say some examples of the population. All the cormorants in the wetland, rat in the abandoned dwelling, teakwood trees in the forest tree, bacteria in a cultural plate, lotus plant in a pond. This all are the examples of the what we can say the populations. Although an individual organism is the one that has to cope with the changed environment, but natural selection operates at population level to select the desired traits. So that is the important point that we should remember. So although individual organism cope cope up with changed environment, but natural selection operate at population level here to select the desired traits and such that the population ecology is therefore an important area of ecology because it's linked ecology to population genetics and evolution. Okay, so we remember one of the important point. Population ecology, an important area of ecology because it links ecology to population, ecology to population, genetics, and evolution. Okay, such this population ecology work. So now we have to talk about the population characteristics, and in this, the population attributes which we are going to discuss here. In that, some characters are unique to the group. They are unique to a certain population and not characteristic of individuals forming it. Okay, so it is a unique to the group. It is property of a particular, we can say, population. It is not in the individual. Like an organism born or dies and has age, but it does not give a birth rate or a death rate, an age ratio. Okay, so birth and death are the characteristic of organism. Okay, individual. So birth and death, they are properties or attributes of individual. An individual cannot give a birth rate or death rate. So birth rate, death rate are properties of population. Okay, and these population characters can be best explained by statistical methods, and some important are as follow. Okay, so here what we understood that the attributes, certain attributes of an individual organism does not possess. Okay, that population has, obviously. And if we talk about such attributes, we are going to discuss one by one different attributes. First, we are going to talk about the population density. Population density is explained by n, or we can say, if we can call it as a population size. Now, what is this? The size of the population tells a lot about the status in the habitat. Okay, so population size tells about status, its status in habitat. And when there is a change in a population size, it is used to evaluate various ecological processes like outcome of competition of members. That is a change in population, population either increases or decreases. That is due to some of the ecological properties like competition of the members of one species with another species. And such a way competition can reduce, okay, or increase. So the impact of a predator, another is the impact of predator or the effect of the pesticide application. So this is the thing. Okay, so by different things, the particularly change in population can be attributed. So let's note down change in population size can be due to competition between members of different species or population, then impact of predator or effect of pesticide application. So by these things we can see there is a decrease in the population size. Now population size of a given area or space is known by several ways. There are several ways to measure the population density or population size, and first is the total number. So it is known that counting of individual of the space. What is the here? Counting of individuals of a population of the area. Now it is known that the size of population in nature could be as low as less than 10, that is Siberian cranes at Bharatpur in any year. So these Siberian cranes are we can count because they are less than 10 in numbers. Okay, or it can go total number can go into millions, like Chlamydomonas in a pond. Okay, but it is known that counting the number is considered as the best possible way to measure the population density, and it can give accurate values. But total number cannot be applied everywhere, so other parameters are also there which can help us to measure the population density. And if we talk about other parameters, then the second parameter is the biomass or a percent cover. So here, if we talk, although the total number is generally the most appropriate measure, as we have discussed, of population density, but in some cases it is either meaningless or difficult to determine. In such cases where the total number is not effective or difficult to determine, where the percent cover or biomass is more meaningful measure of the population size. Okay, so it is more meaningful where total number is meaningless or difficult to measure. So if we take an example, in an area, if there are 200 plants of Parthenium in an area, so the number of individuals per unit area, like millions of Spirogyra filaments in a pond, or 200 plants of Parthenium in an area. Okay, but when we talk about the population biomass per unit area or volume, when we have to count a large number of organisms like grasses, or to find out the role of a single use banyan tree in an area. So single use banyan tree with a large canopy, stating that population density of banyan is low related to the Parthenium, amounts to understanding the enormous role of banyan in the day. So here if we talk the population density of banyan is low relative to number of Parthenium plants, and it amounts to the, we have to understand that. Okay, so population density of banyan is low, but we are here underestimating the enormous role of onion in that community. So number is more obviously, but Parthenium is small size plant. So we can say the percent cover or a biomass, it may be biomass maybe of a banyan tree is more. Now after this, the next measure which can be used to calculate the population size, that is the relative density, and it is considered as a good measure of finding out the total density of fishes in a lake or by counting the number of fishes caught per trap. Okay, so this relative density help us to particularly relatively measure the number. So similarly, total number is again not easily adaptable measure if the population is huge and counting is a time consuming or impossible. So there are when there are millions of minute small sized organisms are there, we cannot count them by the total number. For example, it is impossible to measure the density of a dense laboratory culture of bacteria. If there is a culture bacteria in a petri dish, so we cannot count the number of bacteria. So total number of is not feasible for these laboratory cultures. Sometimes for certain ecological inventions or investigations, we can say there is a no need to know the absolute population density. Absolute population density, there is no need. And at that areas, the relative density is used. So relative density serve the purpose equally well under such cases. It is equally well. So if you take an example, the relative density is a good measure for finding out the total density of fishes in a lake by counting the number of fishes caught per trap. So total relative density of a species, if we need to count the number of individual of a species, okay, into 100 upon total number of individuals of all species. Okay, so by this we can particularly density of fish we can count by counting the number of fishes caught per trap. And in that, if you want to identify a density of the one particular type of fish, then we can divide the number of individual of that species upon the total number of individuals of all species into 100 by the trap. Okay. After relative density, the another measure which can be used in the population density counting, that is the indirect count. And in indirect count, population size measurement can also be carried out indirectly without actual counting or seeing the organism. So without counting or seeing organism, we can particularly calculate. So indirect count here, measurement of population density without actually counting or seeing the organism. And here, if we take example, tiger census. Tiger census in India is based on the pug marks and fecal pellets which are particularly released, fecal pellets which are released by these tigers and the pug marks where they have walked. So means their footprints and fecal pellets. Through this, the tiger census can be made, and which is indirect estimate of population size, obviously. So this way, these are the different four ways through which the population density can be counted or can be measured. Now, after the population density, we are going to take a second characteristic, okay, of a second attribute of this particular populations. And here we are going to talk about the age pyramid ratio or population age, we can say. If we talk about population age, dear student, a population at any given time is composed of individuals of different ages. Okay, if you take any population, okay, in any population there are some children, there are some adults, and there are some old people. Okay, you will see them in all particular individuals, and they are described into three ages. That is, pre-reproductive, means which have not gained their reproductive capacity and they are in a childhood. Reproductive, which have got their reproductive potential, they have ability to produce offspring. And the post-reproductive, which have lost their capacity of reproduction. So the representation of population age is carried out by a construction of age pyramids. Okay. So what this age pyramid or population age is that here we carry out a representation of a age. So the representation of age is carried out here. So an age pyramid is a what graphic representation of a proportion of various age group of population. Okay, so what is age pyramid? Okay, so if we define age pyramid, it is a graphic representation of various age group of population, of various age group of population. And if we see in human population, the age pyramid generally show a age distribution of male and female in a combined diagram. Okay, in a combined diagram, the male and female are shown. The shape of pyramid reflects the status, growth status of the population. So, okay, the status, the shape of the age pyramid will show the reflect of this one. And here you can see these are the three types of population are shown. One is expanding, one is stable, and one is declining. What this expanding population means? So if the pre-reproductive individual, as you see by this particular graph, that pre-reproductive individual are more than the reproductive individual, and reproductive individual are more than the post-reproductive individual at a certain time in a population. So now pre-reproductive are more than the reproductive, then it is possible that in future this pre-reproductive will convert into the reproductive. So the number of reproductive individual will be more in the future. So the production of offspring will be more and the whole population will increase. And this growing population is seen known as what expanding population. So if we draw its curve, particularly its graph, it is looking like this. Okay, it is looking like this. So it is a pre-reproductive. Okay, if I write a, if I write it b, and if I write it c, then it is a, it is b, and it is c. Okay, so in a triangular shape, see, in expanding population, triangular age pyramid is obtained. So in triangular age pyramid, the graphic representation of a young or growing population which appears like a triangle. So here a population has a very high proportion of a pre-reproductive individual, and the proportion number of reproductive individuals is moderate, and the post-reproductive individuals are proportionally fewer, as you can see. Because of the very large number of pre-reproductive individuals, more and more of them enter a reproductive phase in the future, and they will reproduce and they will increase the population size. So because of this, it is a triangular shape. The another is the stable population, and in stable population, you will see that the pyramid will look like a bell shape. Bell shape. Now, here this bell shaped pyramid will be obtained in the stable population. Why? Because the pre-reproductive individuals, if you can see, these pre-reproductive individuals are marginally more than the reproductive individual. So population in future will not change because almost the reproductive individual which are now similar number will be of reproductive individual in their future. So there will be a no major increase in the population. So this type of population is said to be stable or mature, and there is a no increase or decrease in its size due to the growth rate being almost zero in the stable population. But the last one is declining population, and in declining population, dear student, the small number of pre-reproductive individuals are there. You can see these are pre-reproductive individuals which are a small number, and that are followed by a large number of reproductive individuals. As there are fewer individuals in a pre-reproductive group, in the future the reproductive individual will decline, and if reproductive individual decline, the birth of the new organism will decline, so overall population will decline. So population size will decline with the time, and such population showing a declined growth or a negative growth. And if we talk about the graph, it will look like this. It has a pre-reproductive, reproductive, and post-reproductive. Pre-reproductive are less, and post-reproductive are also getting decline. So such pyramid, it is known as unshaped pyramid. Okay, unshaped particular population is seen. Okay, so age pyramid is unshaped. So these three types of age pyramid are found based on these particular differences in population. So we remember in triangular, what is happening? Pre-reproductive are more than reproductive individual. In bell-shaped curve, the pre-reproductive individuals are marginally more than are marginally more than reproductive individual. And in unshaped age pyramid, the pre-reproductive individual are fewer or less than a reproductive individual. Okay, such three age pyramid are seen, and that is all about the population age or the age pyramid. Now, after this, we are going to take another property or another attribute of the population, that is the population growth. Okay, and when we are talking about the population growth, some attributes of population are used to estimate its growth. So, as population size may fluctuate in a given habitat during a given period due to change in four basic processes. Okay, so there may be a change or a fluctuation or increase decrease in the size of population in a given period due to change in the following processes, and the first process is the natality. Now natality is defined as a birth rate, we can call it as a birth rate, and birth rate inherent ability of a population to increase. Okay, it inherent ability of a population to increase and refers to a number of birth during a given period in the population that are added to the initial density. So whatever the new birth in a given period are added to the initial density, that is known as what? A natality. And this natality is obviously represented by a b, that is birth rate. Now same way mortality, if we talk, mortality is the death rate. Okay, and number of individuals dying in a population in a given period will be described by this death rate. Okay, so that is mortality. So death rate, the what are the number of particular individuals are dying. So if you want to birth rate, if you want to count, the formula is delta n upon n delta t. Okay, so birth rate is calculated by this formula. And here if you talk want to count a birth rate and death rate, birth rate and death rate are counted per capita. That is a per individual birth rate and death rate are counted. Okay. So next point is birth rate is measured per capita. Suppose there are 20 lotus plant last year in a pond, and through reproduction 8 new plants are added. So if 20 plants was there earlier and 8 plants new added of the lotus, then the birth rate will be 8 by 20. So it is point 4 offspring birth rate increased per lotus per year. Same way, death rate if we talk, which is talking about the number of individuals dying in a population, then death rate is also explained by delta n, that is a change in the number of density into original density with respect to time. So here similarly, we can understand the death rate by taking another example. If 4 individuals in a laboratory population of 40 fruit fly dies, there are 40 fruit flies, and out of 40 fruit flies, 4 died. Okay. So during a particular specialized time interval, say a week. So the population death rate is 4 by 40. So it is a zero point 0.1 individual per fruit fly per week. Okay, so that is what a mortality. Now after this, the another characteristics is the immigration. Immigration is what? It is a one-way permanent inward movement of individuals. Inward movement means if some people are coming from Australia to the India, that is the immigration. But if we are going from here India to the Australia, then it is the emigration. Same way in any population, if one-way permanent increase or inward movement of individuals of the same species is occurring into a habitat with the existing population, this may help to speed up the growth and prevent extinction of the smaller population. So the inward movement or immigration of the individuals in a smaller population will increase their number. In plants, it is equivalent to the settlement of a decimuse. Now, decimuse means like what? Seed. Okay. So if the particular population is going, the seed will come from the another area, and that seed I come and go in the particular area and form add a new plant, then it is the immigration in respect to the plant. But emigration is a one-way permanent outward movement. It is a outward movement of number of individuals from a population to the other habitat or other area. If the individuals are moving to the other area from the population, they are reducing the size of local population. The total population of that particular area is getting reduced. Now plants are fixed, so do not show a emigration. Plants cannot show a emigration. Okay, plant will not eat, but through immigration can occur in plant because through seeds they can come and they can germinate and form a new plant. Okay, so such things are possible in this one. Now it is known that if you want to compare this all, then you can see that natality is a birth rate, mortality is a death rate. So natality is increasing the population and mortality is decreasing the population density. Whereas immigration is also increasing the population and emigration is decreasing the population. So if we take this all four, and by using this population character, the density of population at time t can be expressed after a period of time t plus 1. So by considering this all, the population density at time t can be expressed after period of time t plus 1, and it is as n t plus 1 is equal to n t plus v plus I minus d plus e. Okay, so this is the how the population density after time t can be measured as nt plus 1 is equal to nt, that is the initial population density at time 0, that is the birth rate, and the immigration will increase the population, and death rate and the immigration will decrease the population. So this we will carry out. So here we remember b equal to number of birth, then d is equal to number of death, I is number of immigrants, and E is number of immigrants. Okay, like this, the population density show a fluctuation or increase or decrease can be measured by this parameter, or population growth can be determined. So that is all about what population growth. Now after this, we are going to talk about the next. Okay, before that, some points of population growth are remaining that we have to note down always. Now we remember, it is also we have to remember that population size will increase if number of b plus I is greater than number of d plus e, and population size will decrease if number of b plus I are less than number of d plus e. Now there is one new term, that is vital index. So vital index is equal to birth rate upon death rate, that is a natality upon mortality into 100. Okay. Now it is also know that under normal conditions, birth and death birth and deaths are most important factor influencing population density. So these are the two most important factor that influence the population density. The other two factor that is immigration and emigration are important under special conditions. And it is known that in a newly colonized area, in a newly colonized habitat or area, immigration contribute more significantly more significantly to population growth. Okay, so in a newly colonized habitat or area, immigration contribute more significantly to the population growth compared to the birth. Okay, so they will add more number because there is a it is a new area habitat and there is no possibility of growing a life immediately. So the organism which come first there compared to the birth is helping the increase in the population size. Now after this, we are going to about talk about the next characteristic, that is the sex ratio. And it is known that is another attribute characteristic of population is a sex ratio. Now an individual is either a male or female, but population has a sex ratio. Okay, individual can be either male or female. Okay, individuals can be either male or female, but population has sex ratio, that is a population has both male and female. Okay, so if we take an example, for example, in a population of 1,000 individual, in a population of 1,000 individuals, 600 individuals are female and the rest of them are males. Then there is 600 is to 400 means 60 is to 40 sex ratio of female to male is seen. Okay, such a way the sex ratio, that is a presence of number of female with respect to the male in a population, that can be described by this sex ratio. Now after this sex ratio, the another characteristic we are going to talk, that is the growth models. And when we discuss a growth model, it is known that it represents specific pattern of population growth. It represents specific pattern of population growth. And there are two patterns of growth. There are two patterns of growth and can be explained can be explained depending upon the impact of depending upon the impact of environmental factor. And these two patterns, or we can say two type of growth model, are number one, that is exponential growth model, and number two, logistic growth model. Okay, these two type of models are seen. Now, if we understand this two one by one, the first we are going to talk about the exponential growth model. And if we talk about the exponential growth model, it is also called the geometric growth. So exponential growth model is also called as geometric fashion of growth. Now, geometric fashion of growth means if one cell, if we talk about one cell is giving a two cell, and this two cell have ability to form again a two cells, then this type of growth is known as geometric growth. So this geometric growth or a exponential growth model in which the population is continuously increasing. So this occur exponential growth model or geometric growth occur when resources, that is food and space, are unlimited. Okay, and it is known that according to Darwin, if we talk about Darwin, according to Darwin, when resources when resources inhabited inhabited are unlimited, when there is a unlimited food, unlimited space, unlimited resources, each species has the ability to realize has ability to realize its realize fully its innate potential to grow in number. Means the population will realize or species will realize that we can use maximum resource and we can grow maximum, or we can reproduce maximum, and we can increase our number to the maximum size. And this intrinsic rate of natural increase is called biotic potential. It's called biotic potential, that is R. And this is known that the value of R or biotic potential is important parameter to assess the impact of environmental factor. So this R or biotic potential assess or identify impact of environmental factor on population growth. Okay, so that is what R. And if we talk about this, the following are the important aspect of the exponential growth. And if we want to show the exponential growth, we have to grow a curve, because there is a what, a unlimited resource. So if we draw its curve, and that is with respect to time t of a population density, then it is n. Okay, so in this, the population density, what will happen, the particular exponential growth will occur, the 1 will divide at 2, and this way the particular population density will increase. Okay, so this is known as exponential increase because the resources are unlimited, so they are using unlimited food and they are increasing their reproduction, they are increasing their population density fastly. So such increase will be known as exponential growth model, okay, or exponential growth curve. If such increase is gone, so it is a what, a J shaped curve will be obtained like this when there is a unlimited food conditions. Okay, so here it is known that any increase or decrease during time t will be, any increase or decrease, any increase or decrease in population, that is n0, during time t will be, that will be dn by dt is equal to b minus d into n. Okay, so it is going to b minus d into n, and here the b is per capita birth rate and d is per capita growth rate. So if b minus d is representing a growth rate is equal to r, so dn by dt is equal to rm. Okay, so here this change can be expressed like this, and there is no carrying capacity in exponential growth model. So here, if we talk about the integral form of exponential growth equation will be nt is equal to n0 e raised to rt. Okay, where nt is equal to population density after time t. N0 is population density at time 0, and E is equal to the base of natural logarithms, that is 2 point, that is 2.71828. Okay, so such a way the particular integral form can be expressed. Okay, so any species growing exponentially under unlimited resource condition can reach enormous population density in a short time. And as we have studied the equation dn by dt is equal to Rn describe a geometric growth resulting in J-shaped curve. Now, in this particular population which are growing like this, in this there is a what? A crash phase is formed. And in this crash phase, the population is increasing because unlimited food is there, but the crash phase is population when population stops abruptly due to environmental resistance. So it is increasing, but suddenly due to the any environmental disturbances, it particularly abruptly decreasing due to the environmental resistance, and which becomes suddenly effective or a resource may become depleted. So declining J population is a density trigger. Okay, decline in J-shaped population is density triggered. Okay, and if we talk examples are algal blooms, insect population, etc. So if we talk about the magnitude of R, that is the growth rate, R was 0.0205 in 1981 for human population in India, while it reached 0.0176 in 2001. Okay, so the R for Norway rat is 0.015, and for floor beetles it is 0.12. Okay, so you should remember this. Okay, and this type of exponential growth curve occur. Now after this, the second type of growth is logistic growth model. And in logistic growth model, it described a situation in which resources present in environment are limiting. So it occur when resources are limiting. So in nature, in a given habitat, has enough resource to support a maximum possible number, beyond which no further growth can occur. So they can particularly allow the limited number of organisms to grow. So the natural limit of that species in that habitat is called a what? A carrying capacity. So they have a carrying capacity, and carrying capacity is the maximum number of individual of species accommodated by the available resources. So if resources are limited, the limited number of population up to a maximum limit, up to which the population will grow, that is a carrying capacity. Thus, nature does not impose or provide unlimited resource availability to permit exponential growth. Nature will not provide exponential growth, which we have discussed in the first one. And this leads to a competition between nature provides an unlimited, limited goal, limited medium. So limited availability of resources lead to the competition between the individuals for the limited resources. And the fittest individual will survive. So competition occur between individuals for limited food. And it is known that the fittest individual will survive and reproduce, which is in a particular important zone. So if you want to draw this particular curve, you can see it will be look like this. With respect to time, if we are taking population density, it will show this type of curve. This is known as lag phase. Okay. So population growing in habitat with the limited risk shows initially a lag phase, that is a preparatory phase. Then you will see this log phase. And this is a particularly lag phase is followed by the acceleration. the increase in population, and then from here the deceleration will occur. In log phase, acceleration will occur, means population will increase. From here population get decreasing, and finally the stationary or asymptomatic condition will come. Means this is the carrying capacity up to which the population can be accommodated in this area according to the available food. So it gives S-shaped curve. Okay. So now it is going a population density S-shaped curve. So the type of growth population, if here change in the population, because here environmental resistances are there. So some total of environmental factors that limit the population size that are known as environmental resistance. And this environmental resistance rises with the rise in population size. And so the influence of the resistance over abiotic process, so environmental resistance over biotic potential is denoted by K minus N upon K. K is a carrying capacity and N is a population density. So population density is what? What is the number present now? And carrying capacity, total number of, if a one particular class is there, in this 50 students, capacities of 50 students, then 50 is the carrying capacity. But if the 20 are sitting now, then 20 is the population density. Okay. So now this S-shaped or sigmoid curve is obtained. Now, if we talk, it is described by dn by dt is equal to Rn k minus n upon k. Okay. And this it is also called Verhulst Pearl logistic growth model. Okay, it is also called a Verhulst Pearl logistic growth model. To whom? Logistic growth when there is a limited resources. Okay, here we remember in this N is population density at time T, R is intrinsic rate of natural increase, okay, and K is carrying capacity. Okay, so since resources for the growth for most animal populations are finite, so nature provide limited resources. So logistic growth model is more realistic one. Okay, so this is the important point that you should remember. Okay, and that is all about the what we can say the growth models. I hope you understood both the type of logistic and the exponential growth models. Now we are going to the last topic in this population attribute, that is the life history variation. Dear students, we know that population evolved to maximize their reproductive fitness in a given habitat. Population evolved. The certain changes occur in the population to evolve to gain that maximum fitness. And it includes variation in their life history, evolve in a relation to the selection pressure, natural pressure, which is caused by this. Okay. And in order to achieve the most effective reproductive strategy, so they can particularly survive. So here This variation in life history evolved in relation to the selection pressure imposed by the environment factor in order to achieve the most efficient reproductive strategy. And these are as follows. Some of the strategies are as follows. There are small number of large size individuals produced. If there are a large sized individuals, they produce a small number. Okay, mammals and birds are the examples. Okay, whereas the larger number of small size individual produce the large number, so their population will be large, so they can compete better. So oyster and pelagic fishes are such. Same way, the some organism breed once in their lifetime. That is a bambusa, and it is bambusa and Pacific salmon fish. Whereas some organism breed many times during their life. That is the mammals and many birds. So here, according to ecologists, we can say here that the life history traits of organism have evolved in relation to the constraint imposed by the abiotic and abiotic components. Whatever the constraint, whatever the limitation imposed by the biotic and abiotic components of the habitat in which they live. So organisms evolved different strategies to achieve the Darwinian fitness in relation to the pressure imposed by the both abiotic and biotic factors, which exist in the surrounding environment or habitat of the particular area. So this variation are to evolve to the maximum and develop a different strategies. Okay, so I hope you have understood. You have to remember these examples. These examples are important. They can be asked. Okay, so that is all about the population attributes, and that is all about the, we can say what, life history variation. I hope you understood well. Thank you.